agreement on our state's budget crisis. But not surprisingly, no one left that meeting with a solution or a plan. Meanwhile, our state is now almost 2 weeks late on its budget. The Joint Finance Committee has not met in almost a month, and they don't have a plan to meet anytime soon. Republicans have tossed out idea after idea, and they've recently become so desperate that they've demanded ideas from outside groups. And they've even considered borrowing hundreds of millions of dollars from the federal government. Wisconsin is facing a $1 billion budget deficit, an insolvent transportation fund, and no plans to increase revenue to fund some of our state's most important programs. Fully legalize marijuana in Wisconsin today. States that have legalized marijuana have seen unparalleled economic stimulus. Tens of thousands of jobs have been created in these states. Hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue has been brought in, and billions of dollars in other economic benefits. It is estimated, in fact, that by 2020, the marijuana industry in the United States will be worth more than $20 billion. Wisconsin can't afford to wait any longer to legalize marijuana. Now more than half of the states in the country have legal marijuana of some form or another. 1 in 5 people in our country live in a state that has some form of legal marijuana. Think about that. 1 in 5 people in our country, more than half of our states. So the question isn't a matter of if marijuana fixes quite for its position in the first place. We certainly cannot afford to wait any longer to find a solution. Legalizing marijuana is a unique and innovative approach to addressing a fiscal deficit while jump-starting our lagging economy and prioritizing our middle-class families. Given the budget crisis that Wisconsin is facing, it's time to give legalizing marijuana some serious consideration. What this bill will do: this bill will legalize medicinal and recreational marijuana in the state of Wisconsin. It is also drastically different than other bills that I've introduced in the past. It will include increasing oversight and protections for our consumers. This bill will provide a marijuana curriculum into our schools in the state of Wisconsin. This bill has never once received a single Republican co-sponsor, but I am hopeful that given our budget crisis and the fact that these states' experiments across our country are working and the ground is not falling out in other communities that have legalized marijuana, that this year will finally be the year that my colleagues get past that pesky D at the backside of my name. Just long enough to give legalization some serious consideration. Because I know, and you know, that the most dangerous thing about marijuana in Wisconsin is that it remains illegal. Our budget crisis in Wisconsin is destined to worsen. We just this week heard how it's going to get worse because of plans that were made in Illinois as they address their drastic budget crises. It's going to just worsen here. Folks, we need to do something. And we continue to see new evidence to support the economic benefits of legalization of marijuana. So it's even more unjustifiable, and it's even more foolish to not legalize marijuana in the state of Wisconsin. Thank you so much for all of you for being here. My staff, Britt, in the back has press kits for folks that are interested in them. I am going to pass the mic over to my colleague, Todd Onstead, Representative Onstead, who is one of the very first supporters of this bill when we came out of the grow closet a couple of years ago. I want to let him say a few words, and then I'm happy to answer some questions.
Well, good morning. I'm Todd Onstead from the 65th Assembly District, which is essentially 2/3 of the city of Kenosha, and I'm happy to be here today, and I'd like us all to give one more round of thanks to Representative Sargent for all the hard work she's done on this bill. I have to say, this is a much livelier press conference, I think, than I've ever been at. So great to be here with you this morning. Our colleagues, as Representative Sargent has said, on the other side of the aisle are still locked away arguing about what to do with transportation and education. Our state budget is now 13 days overdue. Republicans are actually arguing about, amongst themselves of course, about whether to borrow more money, raise revenue, or just not spend any more money on roads and schools that we all know need to be fixed. One solution is staring us in the face, and that is the legalization of marijuana. It is estimated that between $30 and $49 million a year in revenue would be generated actually if it was legalized. And we also know that thousands of jobs in the state of Wisconsin would be created. Marijuana prohibition is also the leading cause of incarceration in Wisconsin. And Wisconsin locks up between 2 and 3 times the number of people that our neighboring state, Minnesota, does. Costing taxpayers millions of dollars per year unnecessarily, approximately $30,000 per person to be housed in one of our state prisons. Wisconsin should join the other 29 states that have legalized marijuana for either medical or recreational purposes. And it's great to be here with you all today, and it's great to co-sponsor this bill with my great colleague, Representative Sargent. And we'll take any questions.
Curriculum, what was that advocating for?
No, it is not. So,
what is that speech?
all right. So the addition to this bill that addresses the school curriculum is not advocating for usage of marijuana. What the school curriculum portion of the bill does is it would treat marijuana in the same way in our school curriculums that we treat alcohol and other drugs, tobacco, for example. So I'm the mom of 4. I'm also someone, and I know this is so cliche, who has never chosen to use marijuana. I'm not saying by legalizing marijuana in the state of Wisconsin that I think everyone should go out and get high tomorrow or the day after we get the bill. What I mean,
is there anything in the bill that addresses who would be growing it and who would be able to sell it?
Absolutely. That is, this bill is over 100 pages long. And that is why we've actually provided in our press kit Q&A for many of you to be able to find the answers to the questions that you're asking. This bill provides the opportunity for folks to grow 6 plants of their own for personal use. If you choose to grow more than 6 plants, then there's a process by which you can go out and get permitted. And we would provide oversight, because I know that consumer protections are really important. That when you're buying something, regardless if it's a marijuana at a dispensary or a loaf of bread at a bakery, that you want to know what it is that you're putting inside of your body or offering to people who you care about, that it's healthy and that we're taking care of you. So this bill provides more consumer protections than we've ever provided before, just for that reason.
Do you think this transportation deficit could be something that gets it more consideration this year than in years past?
I certainly hope so. Wisconsin is facing, in the state of Wisconsin, good family supporting jobs. We need jobs. We're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in additional revenue, tax revenue, into our state of Wisconsin. And if what it is that we see in other states would happen here, and very much based on our Wisconsin ingenuity, we're seeing billions and billions of dollars in potential revenue brought in to the state of Wisconsin additionally. This is a true economic stimulus package that will address many of the problems that the state of Wisconsin is currently facing.
So the revenues would be going to the general fund then?
We put the revenues into a segregated fund, and we provide a group of people that will oversee them and decide where it is that they need to be dispersed.
So it could conceivably go to transportation?
It could absolutely go to transportation if that's the will of the group. I think we all have ideas on where it is that we would like that money to go, but quite frankly, my concern right now is that we not get lost in that part of the conversation and we actually legalize marijuana in the state of Wisconsin, because the most dangerous thing about it right now is that it is illegal. because we are experiencing a budget crisis in the state of Wisconsin, and we need to legalize opportunity for everyone in our state, and that's what this bill does.
Can you talk a little bit about the consumer protection aspect, just how we regulate the product that's people are purchasing, make sure that it is safe?
So we have DATCAP and other state agencies that do this every single day, overseeing the growing, the manufacturing, and the selling and the production of marijuana in the state of Wisconsin.
Yes, I was wondering, do you have the percentage of Wisconsin citizens, how many are for the legalization?
Absolutely. Today is actually the anniversary of some really interesting information that we received from the Marquette Law Poll 1 year ago today. We learned that nearly 60%, I believe the number was 59% of the people in Wisconsin, believe that we should be treating marijuana in the same way that we treat alcohol, taxing and regulating it in the same way as we do alcohol in the state of Wisconsin. Nationally, the number looks to be about 70%. And I know that that number is just trending upwards as we're seeing these laboratories in other states be successful about how it is that their states are becoming more prosperous and there is more opportunity available for their citizens. Certainly, this is an example. Maybe you were impaired. Let's use that word. But I took time to listen. I knocked on tens of thousands of doors. And legislators that have not supported this bill in the past, and asked just that question. I believe that because of the changes that we've made in this bill since past introductions, that we've addressed many of those concerns. I believe very much that what we're doing is we're providing a path forward for the state of Wisconsin. We are providing an opportunity for the state of Wisconsin by legalizing marijuana. And I look forward to being able to work with my colleagues on the other side of the aisle. One of the things that I hear from my colleagues is folks aren't reaching out to their offices and saying this is a priority. People, your voices matter. Now more than ever, when people scratch their heads and wonder how it is that we got into the situation that we're in at the state or the national level, my answer is you need to raise your voices and let people know what it is that matters the most to you. If this matters to you, please reach out to your legislators and the legislators that serve on the Joint Finance Committee and ask them to sign on in support of this bill.
John Jagler and I sat down one time, he's our representative, and I think Mr. Fitzgerald is the legislator. But anyway, we sat down and 64% of Juneau is for cannabis being legalized. That's way over half. Why aren't they listening to their constituents? I'm
glad that you're reaching out to your representative and senator, and I encourage you and other people to continue doing that. I can't answer the questions based on other legislators' positions. Are there any other questions from the press? That conversation opened up the door to the fact that there are benefits, there are medicinal benefits to marijuana. This is a plant that grows out of our earth that has a medicinal benefit to the people in our state of Wisconsin. That door is open. People in this building have acknowledged that to be the case. And I look forward to being able to continue to work with them, all of my colleagues, to provide opportunity, to legalize opportunity in the state of Wisconsin and move this bill forward. Any other questions from the press? Jesse?
Yeah, why is this bill, there is Republican support, at least one Republican, for decriminalizing small amounts. Why not start with that as opposed to taking the big step?
I'm super proud to actually be a sponsor of that piece of legislation, and I think it's fabulous that I have a colleague on the other side of the aisle who has stood up and said, you know, something's not right. Our state can be safer if we actually address the way it is that marijuana is being treated in the state of Wisconsin. But I know that we can actually provide more opportunity, more security, and more prosperity for the state of Wisconsin if we go the whole way down the road and legalize marijuana for medicinal and recreational purposes in Wisconsin. Any other questions from the press?
Does the medicinal aspect apply to the opioid crisis? How far are you willing to go?
Can you rephrase your question?
Do you think legalizing marijuana could reduce the opioid epidemic in any way, shape, or form?
That's a very good question. It has been shown that in other states that have legalized marijuana, that hospitalizations and deaths for opioid use have actually decreased pretty drastically, statistically. I think 13 to 23% in other states. I do think that this could make a difference.
Representative Sargent, you had mentioned earlier about the amount of tax revenue that would be generated by this bill. Do you have any estimates now about the percentage of our solvency crisis that would be addressed by this legislation?
We continue to wait for our fiscal estimates for this bill as it is drafted. We do have the fiscal estimates for years past. I know that by looking at what has happened in other states, that we're looking at hundreds of millions of dollars in tax revenue to benefit the people in the state of Wisconsin. I know that there are business owners in our community that support this piece of legislation. I know that there are parents in our community that support this legislation. I know that there are nurses and doctors and other healthcare providers. I know that there are people who work in AODA that support this legislation. This legislation is supported by people of all walks of life. And I am proud to have introduced this bill today. I am proud to being able to continue this conversation and move Wisconsin forward and legalize opportunity for our future, for our state. And I appreciate all of you for being here today. Thank you.
Okay, I'll as soon as I get back. That's